Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Pirates Report. Now, of course, every once in a while, I like to answer questions that people ask, and there is one very pertinent question right now that has been asked on one of my videos. As you can see, the question was asked, so let's answer it. Now, using a Pioneer as a direct engagement vessel, probably not one of life's smartest choices. I would say in any way involving it in combat would probably be to the detriment of the owner of the Pioneer and the fellow pirates who are going out with that person. It doesn't seem like there is really any serviceable use in combat for that ship for a pirate organization. But all is not lost. You see, the Pioneer is not a combat tool. It's an infrastructure tool, and therefore it can bear out and have value for you as a pirate, even though it's not a ship built directly for combat. Situation one, let's say you're a pirate org and you need a place somewhere in space to drop off your goods, organize them before you move them to market to sell them, things of that nature. You're going to need a drop-off point or a warehouse conceivably. Chances are, anybody who owns this ship, if you say, hey, I have a little pirate organization and we'd like you to build us a base over here in unsecured space. Would you mind bringing your Pioneer over into unsecured space and build this for us? LOL, F you, get lost is probably going to be the answer you get back. So how do you do it? Because anybody who owns this ship who is a legitimate citizen is probably not going to want anything to do with you. And even if they did, even if you could somehow convince them to bring the ship out to low sec or basically unsecured or unclaimed space and build something for you, do you really want that information out there? Because even if they say, oh, no, I'll keep it cool, dude, I'll keep it cool. There is someone out there who is not a member of your org who now knows where you keep all your most valuable shit. And it's not like you can say, oh, they built it for me and then I had them eliminated, because that person, that human being behind the computer is still alive and still knows where your shit is. And if you did that, then chances are they'd be much more likely to sell that information on to an interested party. And even though you might be friends with this person now, who knows, a year, 2 years from now, or you might do something down the road that makes that information particularly valuable, and they may say, well, you know, I happen to know where they keep all their stuff and I need to make a quick dollar, so guess what? Sending a message. Guess whose base is on Lear Planet 3? And there you go. Your shit's gone. So it is a ship that may come in handy for you, but you may not want to put it in a pirate organization. Now, in the past, we've talked about the idea of splitting your org into a logistical element, which is your legitimate business front, and having your pirate element being more or less your combat, your criminal element, and having that degree of separation in between the two, where any real interactions that happen between you are more or less, for all intents and purposes, under the table, where other people can't see them and where the authorities can't observe these activities, that sort of thing. So having a Pioneer within that organization is not the worst idea, because one of the things that you may need is that infrastructure. You may need a drop-off point where, because different pilots play at different times, they may all be dropping goods off at one particular station where the legitimate org can then pick them up and then take them to market. You know, everyone's schedule doesn't mesh up. You might have players playing in Europe, you might have players playing in Japan, you don't know. And so getting them to interact, you may need a hub where you can drop things off and give things to one side or the other to then bring them to market, so on and so forth. And having that logistical hub might be crucial, not just in terms of convenience, but in terms of overall profitability. So it may be a ship that comes in very handy building that kind of infrastructure up. Now, there's a lot of question marks still with claiming and purchasing territory, especially going into unclaimed space or insecure space, things like that. There's still a lot of unknowns. We know generally which way they're going, what they want to do, but it has yet to be realized in games, so we don't know exactly how all those things are going to work. But one of the things based on the information we got that you may want to look at is, first of all, look at how they value land. Are there resources there? Is this a good place to refine? Anything like that that makes land particularly valuable, so that your legitimate org, if you're going around looking for things, you know, okay, this is the land that I want to avoid. These are the areas where I don't want to be. I want to be on the most worthless land possible in, whatever, XYZ star system. This is where I want to put my logistical hub, because no one else is going to have any interest in it. That's going to have pretty much zero value apart from tourist value. Then you can start to build up your infrastructure, build up a sizable prickly defense, obviously, and start to lay out whatever you need so that when your pirates come in, they're seen as friendly, whereas other players may not be seen as friendly. Other people will look at it and say, well, realistically, it's heavily defended, but there's no real value in the land, so why even bother with it? And they may just leave you alone based on that fact. If the land isn't that valuable, well, then chances are a lot of players aren't going to hang around or spend too much time in that area, which kind of opens up windows of opportunity where your pirates can come in, drop off goods, warehouse them, and then take off, and then your logistical element can pick them up and then take them onto market and sell them. Now, you've built your base, you've built your infrastructure. What do you do with the ship then? I mean, do you just keep building? Well, you can, because that cargo transfer hub could also be a depot for construction components. And you may want just cheap land to build it on, as far as anyone legitimate is concerned. So you've got all your construction components coming in, and then you're going out and you're building bases for other people. Because remember, high price tag ship, limited quantities. There's not going to be a lot of them out there, at least initially. So you might be able to turn your legitimate side into a construction business, allowing you to overfly planets, moons, all kind of passing under the radar and gathering intel. Looking for things like whose base is where, how well defended it is, things like that. When are they active as you're flying over moons and planets, building things for other people, or at least helping them build their own stuff. You can use that as a tool to gather that information so that okay, these guys might be a problem for us down the road, but here's their HQ, here's where they're active, and here's the defenses they have. That sort of thing. So there is kind of a deeper value to this ship beyond just a straight up combat vessel, but there is, of course, that enormous upfront price tag to the ship, which could be problematic at best. Now, as things progress and we move closer to a finished game, we will probably know a heck of a lot more about what goes on in unclaimed space or insecure space and what the limitations of this ship are in that area. Maybe you can also use it for your pirate org, construct basically like a small social hub or meeting area or drop-off point for personnel where people can log in and log off or transfer from one ship to another, that sort of thing, depending on the situation. And that's a use that we're going to have to wait and get some more concrete information on down the road before we can realistically predict it, or at least have a possibility of doing that. But for right now, there is a very real use for this ship in terms of piracy. Not in terms of combat, but in terms of infrastructure. But it means absorbing a certain layer of complexity in how you do your business, because you're no longer going from, say, just a criminal gang out for thrills. You're now going to a full, like, criminal enterprise, organization, syndicate, whatever you want to call it. You're stepping up in the world when you're looking at ships like this. And so, there's a lot of possibilities that come with that. But there's also going to definitely be a lot of hard work and a lot of legwork to get that off the ground and get it built properly. So that is my thoughts on the Pioneer as a pirate ship. Combat, no. Infrastructure, quite possibly. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.